as farmers, we get out of bed to grow great tasting fruit is what we do, and there's thousands of farmers in Australia that do the same thing. I guess what we've believed is that consumers buy their first one with their eyes and they repeat buy with their tongue, so it needs to taste good. So not only has to look good, it's got to be attractive, but it needs to back it up with flavour. And I guess that's what's driven us, is to get that the best pineapple, strawberry, raspberry, mango, whatever it might be in our sector. So we developed a brand in the fresh fruit market that's then enabled us to continue to grow and expand and eventually become Australia's largest pineapple growers. Piñata Farms, we're a third-generation business based on the Sunshine Coast at a little place called Wamuran. My grandfather moved here in 1964, so 60 years ago this year. He was a builder in Brisbane at the time. During the early 60s, there was a bit of a credit squeeze and thought he would come farming for a couple of years until building improved, and 60 years later, we're still here. The family farm is what my brother and I and our sister grew up on, so our parents were farming at that stage as well, on some land that Grandad had subdivided off for Dad and Mum. So my grandparents and also our parents grew for Golden Circle, as did most of the industry. Back in the 70s and early 80s, there was 900 odd pineapple growers in the industry, and they pretty much all grew for Golden Circle in some form. Some of them were doing some fresh, but it was really a processing-based industry. And in the early 90s, Golden Circle was producing 150 odd thousand tonne of pineapple. So it was a big sector of our industry. Once Steve and I left school, we expanded our pineapple operation, bought some more land. We felt that canned pineapple seemed to have a limited expansion opportunity, and we saw fresh as a point of difference, I guess. We planted extra specifically for the fresh industry. And that industry has grown from sort of 15,000 tonne to about 50,000 tonne now in the last 35 years. And then that's just by delivering a better product, more consistent, very different varieties and different locations to ensure that consumers get a great eating pineapple every time. We're in the middle of a pineapple field here at Wamuran. We harvest pineapples every week of the year, most days of the year, Monday to Friday. We've got about 180 hectares of pineapple that enables us to harvest pineapples from late January through to early November. We've also got a pineapple operation in Mareeba in North Queensland, where we then harvest from October through to March, so we've got a bit of an overlap to ensure that we can produce delicious pineapples every day of the year for fellow Aussies. So over the years, we've continued to develop our pineapple operation, and have been Australia's largest pineapple growers for some time. But honestly, we'd rather be known as the leaders of the industry rather than the biggest. Yes, we go through and cut fruit, and then work out from that which ones are ready to harvest. So, if you look at this one, it's just starting to turn on the bottom, but once you actually cut the inside, you'll see it's all starting to ripen. Yeah, so this is the harvest process. So you'll see the guys are walking through and selecting the ones that we've deemed ready to eat. We then take the top off. You can see the top's coming out this elevator, ready to collect for replanting. Like all humans, I guess we're all conscious of minimising our impact on the planet. And by removing the top, it reduces the amount of packaging, the amount of freight by about 30%. So instead of being thrown into someone's bin in Sydney or Melbourne, we're actually putting it back into the ground here and growing another pineapple with it. Once we've harvested the fruit, it goes to the packing shed. We then pack it into boxes, get it nice and cold to do the transport, and then distribute it right across Australia. So our pineapples are in every Coles Woolworths store right across Australia every day, and depending on the transport time. So here in Brisbane, that's tomorrow. Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, that's the day after. Tassie, day after that. Perth, the day after that, so 4 days to Perth. Darwin is similar. So nice and fresh. They don't get any better once you harvested them. They're best eaten the day you buy them. So the best place to store it is literally in your stomach, and enjoy. Yeah, pretty good. So Piñata is just a name that we thought of back in the early 90s when we built the packing shed. We thought we'd set up a packing and marketing business. And if you take the TA off of Piñata, so you've got Piña, which is Spanish for pineapple. Pineapples are a native of South America where they speak Spanish, so that's sort of the connection. But our initial slogan was a treasure in every one. So we had this big pineapple caricature, like a piñata, with a machete smacking into it and all this stuff flying out of it. Yeah, I guess, yeah, when you're in your late 20s and trying to have a point of difference in a marketplace, we thought it stood out. But it seems to resonate with consumers. Like it is different. It's not Skurs Pines or whatever. It's Piñata, so it's something that's remembered and it's a bit of fun. The treasure in every one, and where that flavour profile comes through. One of the things that I remember from my early years, my grandfather used to often say that if you don't have time to do it properly, make sure you've got enough time to do it twice. So hence, quality has been a pillar that we've built our business on right from the beginning of doing the job well, but consistently well, not just well when it's easy or when it suits us, but well particularly when it's difficult. And that's what's built us rapport and respect and a relationship with the major retailers, is that anyone can do what's easy, but we've actually taken on the hard things to do it every day, the more difficult crops to grow, and to be able to deliver them to consumers right across Australia every day is something that is quite challenging, and hence we've been able to differentiate in a commodity where just by doing it a bit better than most, but every day. We're one of the first businesses in fresh produce, not just pineapples, to implement a quality standard back in the early 90s when it was first coming in. Quality assurance needs to be part of the fabric of a business. It's how we prepare the ground, it's how we form the beds, it's how we place the plants across the beds to ensure that we get uniform size of fruit. And then during the harvesting process, obviously treated gently. We then take these bins to the pack house where we then select them for grade. So we sort out the ones that are good enough, the different sizes, etc. So we felt that as a business, if we could maintain a consistent quality of pineapple, people would buy more of them. That's been demonstrated over the last 30 years. So quality assurance is part of our culture, it's what we do. Our aim is to grow great eating fruit every day. We only grew pineapples right through until the year 2000 is when we've started growing strawberries, and that was a diversification for the business. We were large pineapple growers, had property here in Wamuran and also in Mareeba in North Queensland. It gave us the year-round supply. But in the late 90s, for the first time, fresh pineapple was allowed to be imported into Australia from other countries, Indonesia, Philippines, of the like. Their labour is a fraction of ours, still is. And that was obviously a threat to us. So we looked to diversify the business into other crops. So we moved into strawberries and then more recently mangoes, and then raspberries is the last crop we moved into. But all of them we've endeavoured to not only just participate in industry, but to make it better. And better through varieties, so better eating varieties, better yielding varieties. Yield's really important to farmers because that's what we get paid on and that's what pays the bills. But yield's also important for consumers because it keeps the price affordable. It doesn't matter if something's amazing, if it's too expensive, people can't afford to buy it regularly. So berries are an important part of our diversification because we've got pineapples and mangoes which are in the tropical space, and they are grown in the tropics obviously, which we get cyclones, floods, wet seasons, etc. Whereas berries, we grow them here on the Sunshine Coast, but in winter when it's typically drier. Then also in Stanthorpe and Sorrel down in Tasmania over the summer period. And what that does is just gives us diversity, that if we're getting smacked with bad weather in our tropical business, the cash flow that the berry business generates keeps paying the bills. And vice versa, if we're having issues with berries because of low pricing or whatever it might be, we've also got the tropical business. So the diversification that we've done geographically as well as crop-wise has made us a very resilient business, that we can copper hiding in one sector or one site, and we've still got something else to employ people. So it's important for continuity of work, but also to pay the bills. We may add future crops going forward, we don't know, but we don't want to be a fruit salad business. We want to actually just own the categories we're in. We want to be known as the leaders in that sector. So it's about delighting consumers. If people are going to invest their money buying one of our products, we want them to enjoy that and do it again tomorrow. So some of the things that have set us apart, I guess, on the journey is genetics, so better varieties. So we've searched the world to bring those genetics to Australia. If they weren't available here, in the case of mangoes, it was actually bred here. We then need to tweak them for our conditions because all plants grow differently in different climates. So we've then had to do extensive trials on maximising the genetics or working out which ones worked and which ones didn't. Initially in pineapples, we brought in varieties of pineapple from Hawaii that are now the staple here in Australia. And then more recently, we brought the honey gold mango variety. It was bred here in Australia, but we've commercialised that and it's now Australia's premium mango. It's then through adoption of technology. So, back in the day, 30 years ago, pool rooms were modern technology. We take it as granted now. But certainly irrigation management, fully computerised irrigation management that waters exactly what we need when we need it or when the plant needs it and changes if the weather changes, as in that autonomous. So we've adapted that technology to use it out in the paddock in the farm. The tractors, so bigger tractors that still only need one operator but can get 3 or 4 times the amount of work done in an hour or a day than they used to be able to do 30, 40 years ago, so that gives us efficiency. And then managing or adapting to the constantly changing climate. So as farmers, we need to be adaptable to the climate, whatever the weather is. That's what is often noted about farmers, is that we're known as resilient, because whatever the weather, we just roll up our sleeves and get on with it. One of the other factors of our success is that we trial things on a small scale first. But if you're pioneering something, it's about don't go in boots and all up front. Get the kinks out of the system small scale, so that when that fails, you don't fall over. And then once you've got the model, then scale it up. Here we are in our substrate strawberry field. It's different to our conventional strawberry fields because they're up on gutters, grown in these grow bags. The UK actually is where they pioneered this concept 15 odd years ago. We were sort of one of the first to bring it to Australia to trial it. And that was back in 2014. What we've got is we've got a bag here that's 1 metre long. In this instance, it's got 8 holes in it for 8 plants, and it's made of coconut coir. So this is actually decomposed coconut husks. The berry industry globally are utilising what was a waste product. So closing that loop on someone else's waste is very beneficial to an industry like ours. So it's a bit like an intravenous drip on a human, where we give it everything it needs 24/7. So we have sensors in bags throughout the field, so that measures what the plant's actually using, and we're actually replacing exactly what it needs when it needs it. So this is sort of the future, I guess. The bulk of our production is still grown on the ground, conventional way that strawberries have been grown for a long time. But we're moving towards this. You'll see that they're up nice and high, a lot easier to pick because they're actually walk along here and pick standing up instead of down on the ground. They're also better for the fruit quality, because what happens is the fruit is hanging out off the edges here instead of sitting down on the ground in that damp, humid environment, so hence a lot better quality. Uses about 30% less water, so very sustainable in that regard. And we're working on removing the plastic component. So once we've finished growing the strawberries, we actually just compost it through and then spread it out across our conventional fields. So we've been trialling this type of concept for about 10 years now, and we've landed on this model where it's enabled us to still grow a high value crop close to Brisbane on country that typically isn't that flash for farming. So Australian farmers are still known globally to be quite innovative. I think that's something that is hereditary. I think you're born into it and can see the opportunities, and I'm glad that I've been lucky enough to make a bit of a difference in what we've done. So farming overall is a challenging business, and certainly in the sector we play in, which is the horticultural industry, fresh fruit and vegetables, and then particularly the crops we're growing are highly sensitive to weather. So there's always plenty of challenges, and anyone that hasn't had a challenge in business in general probably hasn't been in business too long, to be honest. But certainly in farming, we've had some significant setbacks on our journey. Some of the bigger ones were the flood in Rockhampton, so the 2011 floods. We had a mango farm on the Fitzroy River in Rockhampton that was literally underwater for 2 weeks. killed every tree on the farm. So we had to totally rebuild that farm. So that set us back. It takes 8 years to get a fully mature mango tree. So it's 8 years to get it back to what it was. That certainly was a significant setback for us as a business to do that. The 2022 year was a very challenging year with the floods here in South Queensland, where it just rained continually. And while it was tough as business owners and because of the amount of cost that it cost us, where crops were just decimated regularly, it was more devastating for me to see the staff that work for us, the 300 or 400 people who were out there literally busting their guts in those conditions, to just see it ruined in front of their eyes. Sure, they were getting paid, and there was no financial impact on them personally, but just morally of how they just felt for it, as in after busting your guts and then still get nothing for it, was very challenging for our team through 20 to 22. 2020 with COVID was obviously challenging. It was for everyone. I think our industry handled that pretty well from ability to feed people. Yeah, it hasn't been all smooth sailing. It never is, and I guess that's sort of part of the satisfaction you get when you actually can look back over time and say, well, despite that, we're still here and have actually made a difference. And not only to our local community, but to the state of Queensland and even broader Australia. We've got 31 growers that grow mangoes for us, our honey gold mango. The bulk of them are in Queensland, so they're spread from Mareeba down to the sunny coast. We've got berry growers, we've got pineapple growers. And even if they're not growing for us, when businesses like us roll up our sleeves and invest our time and money into trying to make things better, the broader industry benefits. Family values are something that's important to us. We're a family business, and it's important for us that we maintain those values, that authenticity of being family. While we're large scale and got a lot of people working for us, we still pride ourselves that we are a family business and have those values. And we've got the 4th generation now working in the business. I've got my oldest daughter, Rebecca, who heads up our sales. So she's been with us since uni. And then Steve, my brother, he's got 4 children in the business. So he's got 3 boys and a girl. They're working in North Queensland and the Northern Territory on various farms. But yeah, we're well into the 4th generation. And the 5th, well, Steve and I both got grandkids, but they're only little tackers yet, so we'll see what happens.
It's funny, I think, I tell people that I work for my family business and we grow fruit, and people literally picture a stand on the side of the road or a farmer's market. They don't picture, a team that works 7 days a week, that serves Coles, Woolies, Aldi nationally every day of the year except Christmas Day and Good Friday. It's sort of so much more goes into it than what you could ever imagine, not just growing and picking and packing, but also selling and marketing this fruit and dealing with big supermarket accounts and that sort of thing. So I found that really exciting. And even the nitty-gritties of working with supermarkets on big promotions. And if you've got your mango on the front page of a catalogue, that's a huge commercial deal that you've done, with a really big customer. The growing is the hard part, but there's so much more that happens after that that's, really commercial. Yeah, it's really, really rewarding. You're selling fruit, you're selling something that's so healthy and good for people, and you can feel really good about it.
When I left school at the end of '83, so 40 years ago now, there was just mum, dad and myself on the farm. And then a couple of years later, Steve and my brother joined us. We also had a working man that worked for us at that time and still works for us. John has been with us for the journey as well. So we started very small. Now we farm 4 crops in 7 locations from Darwin down to Hobart. So what started at Wamuran, we're now spread across Australia from top to bottom. In the horticulture sector in general, but certainly within our business, we have a lot of seasonal staff, so they'll come and do a season on a site. A lot of people from pretty much every nation on earth working in our business at any given time, which also has its challenges, not only through the language barrier, but also instilling the values and the culture that we as a business believe sets us apart. So hence there's a lot of training involved in recruitment, obviously, to recruit replacements for those. However, one of the things that we've done deliberately is to maintain those family values where I can walk onto any site in Australia and everyone knows who I am and is comfortable coming and saying hello. I think that is important, that we've kept the personal aspect of a family business, and it's something that we've worked hard on and continue to work hard on. How you going, boys? Beth? We've got a lot of long-term employees, people that have been with us 10, 20, 30 years, so they certainly help. And what we find is that when we recruit, hopefully we've recruited the people that actually appreciate that culture and values. We employ a lot of islanders, what's known as the PALM scheme, which is it's a foreign aid program essentially for the Pacific Islands. Instead of the Australian government just sending cash over to those countries, we actually bring their people over here, they work, earn the money, which makes people feel a heap more self-worth than a handout. And they take that money home to build better lives for themselves back in the islands. Typically, after doing a season with us, they've got enough money to buy a block of land back home, something that they would never have, rarely have an opportunity to do if they didn't come to Australia. So that's year one, they'll buy the block of land. Year two, they'll come and earn enough money to go home and then build the frame of a house. And then year three, they'll finish the house off. And then year 4, 5, 6, 7, we've got some that are on their 8th season with us now, have actually started doing it for their broader family. So they've set themselves up and now they're setting up their siblings, their parents. It gives them an opportunity that they would rarely get. Unemployment in the islands is around 70%, so it's rare to get a job, and when you do, it pays peanuts. Whereas they can come here, earn Australian wages. We accommodate them, we transport them, we're their mum, essentially. Take them to soccer, do all the things to embed them in our communities while they're here. And then they go home with, a lot of money that would take them a lifetime to earn back home. It works well, and on top of that, we get great people to come and work for us. And the repeatability is good for us because when they come back season after season, they hit the ground running, they understand our values, our culture. But they're also family orientated cultures from those countries. So helping them understand that we're just one big family, and one of our values is we are one team, is something that we embed across the multiple businesses. Some of the keys to our success would be that I'm never satisfied. Like, it can always be done better. Despite how much better we're doing it now, it can always be improved. So there's that relentless push to do better, whatever better might be. It might be better genetics, better technology, better whatever it might be. The other one I think is around that relentless pursuit of the perfect eating piece of fruit. It's what drives us, is satisfaction we get from eating our own fruit, let alone when other people eat it and let us know that how good it was. We set ourselves a goal 5 years ago to actually have someone consume one of our products every second of the year. There's 31.5 million seconds in a year, and in 2023 we actually knocked that off. We did 33 million fruit experiences, and by that, that's a pineapple, or a mango, or a punnet of strawberries, or a punnet of raspberries. Yeah, so we've grown a bit in the last 60 years. It's taken us 60 years to be where we are, but we still take pride in not only growing volume, but something that tastes delicious.
I think it's something that my dad, my uncle and my grandparents should be really proud of. They started with a pineapple farm in the 1960s, and they've built a business across 4 different products, farming from Darwin to Tasmania, and there's so many challenges in that. Fruit's very challenging, but our climate's very challenging as well, and location and tyranny of distance, and I just think what they've built in 30 years is just absolutely unbelievable. I see like myself as a 30-year-old, and just what my dad and my uncle had done by the time that they were my age is just true pioneers, and taking really, really big risks too. Bringing varieties of pineapples in from overseas and buying new varieties of mangoes. Yeah, just taking big risks, trying to do something different. The challenges that come with that, like farming, is there's a lot easier ways to make a buck, but I think the resilience that they've shown, to keep going, and they've still got the same, or probably more passion than they've ever had. And I think it's because they are kicking goals in terms of flavour and giving people really, really great eating fruit. But I think that they've done an amazing job.
businesses like ours, when we reflect on it, have got a lot to be proud of. We don't do it for the recognition. We do it for the pleasure that we see when people eat one of our pieces of fruit, and the feedback we get when people go, wow. That's why we do it. We don't do it for the recognition, but as always, it's nice to be recognised.